Hey everybody. I'm going to wait till I see that the stream's actually running, and then I'll jump in and just start testing. Okay. All right. I think we're working. So while I'm waiting for people to join, I am going to just grab a controller. I'm just going to grab any old arcade stick controller just to make it easier. I don't know if I've lag tested this one, but it wasn't awful. If we need to, we can get some of the more pro equipment I have later. But I just want to give this basic start. Let's see what happens. Alright, I have just simply connected the controller. I think I wiggled the HDMI port, so if it blips, it was me hitting the cable. It wasn't wasn't being plugged in that did it. It's detected as a generic Xbox pad. That's totally fine. Okay. And I'm going to start with this just in the OBS window. I know, that's terrible. But the first thing is just kind of seeing what this is all about and going from there. And then we could dig into testing. And I got the chat up. I'll warn everybody when I need to hide the chat to take a better look at something, but we should be ready to go, all set to go. So I'll explain where we're at, and I'm probably gonna have to repeat this a couple times for people joining, but I'll do a good one now, and then I'll just summarize it later. So actually, let me see if I could just share my desktop here. Okay, so I started by downloading the full file and then extracting it right from the website. The extracted image is 7.5 gigs. And I followed the exact same procedure you do for basically every kind of flashing of a Raspberry Pi image. I use Win32 Disk Imager, but there's Rufus, there's a ton of them. So you basically flash the micro SD, and then you, when it's completely done, and this took a while because it was a larger image, then you put it into your Raspberry Pi and boot it, and just wait until you get to the title screen. Don't do anything else to the micro SD card. And what this does is automatically expands the image and then creates multiple partitions. And that's why and then I was just able to dump the ROMs that I wanted in. So this does it all for you. You could use a USB stick, I think, but I love that you could just dump everything right on the micro SD card. And different situations are for different people. Some people would very much prefer a USB stick, but whatever, it's all good. So I love that it was auto partitioned, readable in Windows. It was, everything's great. So now here's the only thing that we're at, because I wanted to keep this as fresh as possible for everybody. So I have the cores loaded, or I have everything's loaded automatically. I have the ROMs loaded on here, and I just wanted to make sure that it booted, and I launched one single arcade game just to launch, and that's it. So everything else you see here, we're going to be going through together, and that's basically it. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that, like, this is a mostly fresh take on this, but I'm interested to see how it works. So I have a keyboard plugged in, and I also have arcade stick. So I'm going to try navigating with the arcade stick and just kind of figuring it out. Pressing the buttons. All right, so I think I figured out. I probably put the wrong button here. Okay, so let me go into options. Okay. We might have time later to do some analog video output options. I'm doing this stream first because I'll be doing the DAC stream showing the RGB Pi 2, the new Mr. Add-ons Prism, and a couple other ones that I have just for people to reference. Only one is plugged in. TV type, PC 60 hertz. Hey, what's up, Allie? What's... Oh, interesting. Full screen 4:3. Integer. Interesting. We'll come back to that after. Let's leave this on, because just why not, right? Audio. Oh, good. Oh, I like that. So this is very cool. Like I showed in the Raspberry Pi 24p video, sometimes you're going to want to use an HDMI DAC directly to a display and a secondary HDMI to go to your receiver. So it's very cool that this has this option already built in. Downmix to mono is also great. Everybody's got a CRT with only one speaker. Well, every CRT nerd that has a bunch of them. Controller mapper. Interesting. Okay, cool. That's the GunCon stuff, which I don't think I'll be able to test today. Swap UI A/B buttons. That's always a good feature to have. I like to leave everything default just to make it easier to troubleshoot stuff. UI menu button is select and start. Oh, okay. So let's... So that is select and that's start. Okay. Because when you're plugging in a random arcade stick, you don't know which is which. So, all right. I'm glad we got that down. Very cool. So here's how you could select between those. I still love that everything's contained in the SD card. We'll come back and try that in a minute. The low latency mode, I mean. Sorry, I should call this out. Oh, I like this a lot. We'll also come back to this at the end. So, for me personally, I dumped a couple of random ROMs on here just because, but I always use my Raspberry Pi as an arcade emulator and rarely for anything else. So, being able to hide everything except the arcades is really cool, and I appreciate that. Or vice versa. If people really just want this as a console emulator and don't play arcade games, beautiful. Okay. What is the Pi 5 add-on? We're going to leave that disabled because I don't know what it is. The resolution is 1080p 60. So I'm not sure if it doesn't support 4K because this is a Raspberry Pi 5. Yeah. Pi 5. The 8 gigs of RAM. Hey, what's up, Mike? New OS. Check the link in the description for some details on it. All right, so I'm going to go right into my main use case, arcade MAME. Now, is there a way to skip by page or something? Oh. Okay, that's the favorite button. Let's go back and see if I could remove that from favorites. Hit select to remove it. Okay, this is cool. I'm kind of fumbling through like a moron at first, but respectfully, I think that's what all of us would do the first time you're trying to learn something like this. So let me see. Is there a skip? No. Yes. Okay, another button skips by letter. Well, that is excellent. That is going to be great. All right, well, let's go now and go to, you all know exactly which one I'm going to pick. Morning, Jeff. All right, so now I'm just going to add that to favorites. Let's just go back and double check. In favorites. Under voltage detected. So I'm very curious what that is. I don't know if it's because I'm powering it off of a USB hub. It's a high amperage USB hub, but it's still a USB hub. So let's just play a quick round and see. We already figured out what start and select was. Okay, I'll pass this audio through as well. I'm going to try to get it so I can hear the audio too. Alright. I would have to leave the other window up. That's right. Alright, let's see if this works. And if we get frame drops, it's not because of the emulation. It's because I have two of these preview windows open. And let me know if the volume's too loud, too quiet, or any of that stuff, please. Okay, so the buttons are not mapped correctly, which is fine. I don't have any problem with that at all. But let's see, can I remap the buttons right from here? System settings. Too quiet? Alright, I'll turn it up a little bit. Alright, so... I'm kind of just guessing here. What's up, Beast? A new Raspberry Pi OS that has the potential to be pretty amazing. What's up, Not Mayo? Welcome. I might get to RGB Pi 2 testing today. I really want to concentrate on the OS, though. Okay, so let's Alright, well, let's power the sucker down. I'm gonna awkwardly talk through this, so actually, no, I'll just change the view so people don't think that the whole stream has crashed or something. Alright, so I'm gonna grab a much higher powered charger for this, just to see. In fact, I'll grab one that I used to charge a spare MacBook. Let's see if we get the voltage issues. And if we don't, that's another just giant win for this thing, because I don't think I've ever seen... I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I don't think I've ever seen any Raspberry Pi based anything that comes right out and tells you if the voltage is too low or the amperage is too low or something. So, powering it back up now. And And I know Raspberry Pis can be a bit finicky about their power supplies, but if this could power a MacBook, I mean, come on. All right, so let's go in and mess with some of those options again, because now we have a baseline of what to expect. My biggest complaint with all previous Raspberry Pi solutions, all of them, was that it's really hard to map controllers. So let's mess with some settings and then go back and try that. And I'm going to leave the frame counter up just because why not? Turn on low latency mode. Wait, what was the... Yeah, okay. So, vertical integer 4x3 horizontal. That's what I would like to try and see. And now let's go back and retry Mortal Kombat. And then we'll also see about trying to map the controller buttons. All right, looks like we have a good integer scale now. So I'm trying to... All right, so a lot of stuff is, like the whole button mapping is off. And by the way, so when I say that, I do not expect anybody working on a project like this to map all the controls for every single game that's ever been made. That's not a fair thing to ask. It's not like Mr. Devs who work on these arcade cores one by one. But it's still something that you have to deal with. So I don't know of any other way to fix this other than what I'm about to do. So let's do this together. And ooh, if you hit start and select at the same time, it brings up the menu. So what should be high punch is apparently high kick. And what should be low punch appears to be correct. Sonya wins. I think. No, I think that's... Yeah, no, low punch is actually high punch. High punch is actually low punch. Or high kick is low punch. Low kick is block. Let's try to find where the other one. Okay, L1 apparently is low kick. Alright, so let's go in and start messing with these. System input. So these have this listed as east, south, north, northwest. I don't also understand what A, B, X, Y, L, R would be mapped to on this controller. So in the chat, please, it's, you know, kind of early. Tell me if I'm being a moron. I don't mind if I'm the moron here. I do not mind at all. But how would one trying to map the buttons figure this out? So I just plugged into my arcade stick. I pressed the buttons in the positions that they're in. But they're not really labeled on this controller. So other than guessing, how are you supposed to do this? Yes, Winterhell, it's the arcade version frame rate, so I believe that's actually accurate. It's supposed to be 55. We'll check another one in a minute, but so I guess let's just change one. Let's just change one and see what happens. Okay, so that button is essentially, the button I just changed is essentially low kick. Alright, so I think that might allow, that might be the same sort of layout as like an SNES pad. You know what? That's a good point, Snady. Let's try this. Alright, you're right. Okay. So that's, they're counting that as east, so low kick. Great, thank you. Funny, I tested that before. I don't know why I went right past it. Low punch south. High punch west. Okay. R1 and R2 should be block. All right. Wait a minute. Hold on. I just confused myself here. So if test physical button, if that's east button 1, that means test physical button is showing where they're already mapped to. Right? So let's change west. Let's change this to like R3. Alright, no. Okay. Alright. Let's give this a try then. Let's see if that worked. Oh, hey, EW. I had that last year. Yeah, that stinks. No. Yeah, no, that messed everything up. So, once again, look, I have no problem if the problem here is me and I'm being a moron, but this is what I always go to. Every time I've ever done an arcade emulation stream, from day one till now, for over a decade, the first thing I do is exactly what most people who want to play an arcade game would do. They plug in their controller, and they try to play a game they like, and how am I going to try to figure out how to do the inputs here? So let's try this from a different perspective. Snady, I agree 100%, but then that brings up the question of if you are taking on a monumental project like RePlayOS, do you play 5,000 games and map each one of them for each controller type. How do you pull that information? Is that something you could pull from MAME? So, you know what? That's, so let's try FB and see if that's any different. Rebooting now. The great John Zini said some games do have specific button descriptions, and I would appreciate that if they were there, but I would never expect that. And I mean that with love to everybody here, so that's not like I'm not talking crap or anything. Ooh. Is there Mortal Kombat on this? Okay. Let's just do this. It retained my preferred integer scale settings, which is appreciated. Which was a global setting, but still. Okay, so far the buttons are mapped perfectly for high punch and low punch. Let's try the rest. Okay. Just pressing all the rest of the buttons. Alright, so basically this is perfect in FB. Okay. So let's see what, even though it's perfect, let's just see what this says. Okay, so this is listed as high punch, block, high kick, low punch. Yeah, okay. Block 2. So let me add a different block, just for the sake of argument here. R2 AX5. Let's see if that worked. Because it's already fine, by the way. Scorpion. Interesting that it's running at 60, because this was a weird game. Block. Yeah, alright, so my button mappings completely and totally worked. If I wanted to be weird, I could do stuff like, put the blocks in the middle, which, that's a preference, but actually, I want to do that next, just to prove a point here. Device type has changed to classic instead of RetroPad. Thank you, I'll check that in MAME as well. Alright, so let me just do this just to be weird here. System input.
Johnny Cage win. Johnny Cage win.
Any MK fans already know what I'm doing here, but just testing the button mapping.
Scorpion.
That was stupidly easy. Now it has more of like the arcade layout of with both blocks in the middle.
Scorpion wins.
Yeah, this is cool. All right, I'll go back and try switching the controller type to classic and MAME just to see. And we'll try a different game in MAME either way. But this is the important stuff that you should definitely be learning if you're trying to do something like this.
Scorpion wins big. Fatality.
Replay options. Actually, I'm gonna save this just because I
Fight.
input, save, game input config. Cool.
Fight.
Reboot that section again. Oh, I like that. A 3-second countdown in case. I like that a lot. That's cool. Okay. I didn't add the other one to favorites because I didn't want to confuse it. This is the MAME one. So let's go back into MAME and see. Okay. So there is no option for that. So A, B, X, Y are instead of that. All right. So basically, we could fumble through this and try to mess with it, but I don't think it's worth it because that's the same way it is in everything else. It's not an insult. Obviously, there's a clear path to how to do this. I do want to try a different game though, and I do want to try like what's Ambuscan. Alright, well, let's go back and try a different game. Oh, wrong reboot. So, let's see, replay options. Did I pass right past go back to menu one or something? No, I think you have to reboot, which I don't have a problem with at all. What's up, Scruffy? Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're good. Let's do another one that always drives me absolutely crazy. And then I'll switch over to testing some other stuff too. Let's go to MAME. Let's do Outrun. Add that to favorites, just in case.
Get ready.
I mean, the buttons are mapped perfectly, so I don't actually need to change anything. But I'm going to anyway in a minute, just because. Alright, so let's see. So same deal, right? It just says A, B, X, Y, L, R. And when we go back into the test physical button, south button 0, west button 2, north button 3. So none of it matches up. See? It says A, B, X, Y, L, R. So I would have to say that's my only complaint at all. I'm being critical because this is my job. I have absolutely nothing but praise for RT's work, but they don't match. So that would mean no matter what you're doing in MAME, it's going to be hard to remap buttons. Yes, they did have analog. Sega did have analog controls in the racing and flight games. I'm 99%. So let me just leave myself a note here. And when you test...
Get ready.
All right. So same thing, we'll go back over to FB Neo and try Outrun there. Hopefully it's there and see what that's all about. Yeah, absolutely beautiful OS. I completely agree. And it works really well on CRTs, which if I have time, I'll grab a camera and show that very quickly. I do want to do a completely different stream about that. And I do want to show off some of the other cores here as well. So, I mean, I guess that's just, I'll just pick one. Deluxe sit down.
Get ready.
Okay, so the buttons are all messed up on the FB Neo one, which is almost good because let's see what we can do here. Okay. All right, so test physical button, that's east. So if I want to accelerate on east, I go here. Test physical button, that was south, okay. And I'm gonna get a pen and draw this on a piece of paper because maybe that's all the info I needed. Maybe I just need to set that up properly. All right, hold on. Because if that matches, that might be an easier way to do that. So I'm gonna go back in. East, south, west, north, good. R1, R2, 1, 2. All right, so let's try this. Then I'll go back to MAME and try it too, just because why not? Brake should be south. And then gear should be, let's call it west. Actually, I'm going to make that R2 just to see.
Get ready.
Yeah, super easy. Looks great too. So for anybody curious, Outrun is a 30 frame per second game, but it will always run at 60 frame per second for NTSC. It just doubles each frame. Completely off topic, but you know, nerdy stuff that I'm always happy to share. This is exclusive to Raspberry Pis, and I love that because a lot of the other software runs on everything, which is excellent. But the reason I've always loved Raspberry Pis is because it's a team of people all working on the same all working on the same hardware. And that's exactly what the developer behind this talks about, is that because it's only one piece of software, they're able to dial in a lot of tweaks, or one piece of hardware, a lot of tweaks that you might not see on others, because they're really just focused on improving one piece of hardware. East button 1. Alright, so to do that, that means I do realize how annoying this must seem, but this is the exact point that I'm trying to make about button mapping. So south should be accelerate, and then east should be brake. And then west should be shift. So let's go back in the menu here. I think it works on 4 and 5, and it does have composite video output. I'm 99% sure. So right now, east would be brake. So that's A. South is gas. Okay, so I think what it's telling me is that my layout is west, Y, X. So let me try this.
Get ready.
No, it didn't work. Alright, so button mappings are still weird, and I hope it's something that the developer would consider working on. Maybe I was getting that wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Alright. So, button mapping on MAME is still not good at all. Hopefully that could be improved. Wedge, it does see it as the Nintendo layout, but it's still really tricky to try to figure out what's what. And, you know, if RTA's response to that is, of course, you moron, this stuff is hard. No, no shade, or like no disrespect taken. Like I am 100% supporting and trying to show everybody how hard this is. I just also am being honest about, as a user, this is what you have to deal with. So let's just try some other stuff. These are all the platforms it supports. And I'm interested in what is going to be something I can't do on Mister. So let's jump in and let's just start with Mario Kart DS. Missing BIOS. That's my fault. I'll figure that out in a minute. All right, let's try a different one. Let's do Philips CDI. Missing BIOS for that one. All right. Do I have a Saturn game in here? I guess I'm missing all of the BIOS files. All right. Well, let's figure this out then. So, Mr. Bratbat Death said, with these kinds of multi-game systems, they always have this existential dilemma. What kind of controller should they use? Classic ones like the 8-bit DOS and 30, a more modern one like a PS1 layout, an arcade stick. They're the type that uses a different controller for every situation, and it's incredibly difficult for them to decide on one. Same, with some exceptions. Fighting games, I use a fight stick. And any games that have analog controls, I try to use any controller with an analog controller. And if it's a favorite console, I try to use something with the same feel and layout of the original. So like an SNES USB controller or something like that. Which is why I'm being so... it's why I'm harping on the controller mapping issue. This should be as easy as it is in Mr. Mr. Controller mapping has spoiled me. And I will just be a brat about this for the rest of my life, because we just don't have to deal with this anymore with other stuff. So let me go to the RePlayOS website and just see what they say about BIOSes. I should have done this beforehand, but you know, I'm all right with making mistakes like that, because this is something that we all would have to go through. And if you missed the beginning of the stream, the only thing I skipped was flashing the micro SD card and copying ROMs, because that's just hours and boring, but it's hours of waiting. It's not a lot of interaction. Please check the full BIOS folder structure. All right, so I'm going to drop in the chat where I'm looking at right now. Does anybody know of a BIOS pack that's easy to download? I mean, I guess let's take a look at this together, right? Let me move all this around and see where we got. Okay, I'm going to power the sucker off and pull out the micro SD. There's a BIOS pack on the Internet Archive. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So what I was saying at the beginning of the stream, I'm going to reiterate that now, and then I'll do the BIOS pack, which thank you very much, by the way. But when you flash the micro SD, it's the same as all others. You put it in your computer. You run any program to flash the image. This comes as a zipped or a compressed file. You uncompress it, literally just drag it out onto your desktop. If you have if you don't have 7-zip installed, you should. But that's all you need to do. You use Win32 Disk Imager, Rufus, whatever, to flash that to a micro SD, and then you boot into RGB Pi OS. Or I'm sorry, I'm so used to saying that from before. RePlayOS, no disrespect. And then after it boots, you put it back into your computer, and this new partition appears. The main partition, the 7.5, 8 gigabyte one, expands and does all of this for you. So when you put it back in, this is obviously a Windows PC. If you have a large micro SD, it automatically expands, and now you have everything right there, which I just think is absolutely awesome. And that's where I put everything. And then BIOS, this folder is empty. So we are going to go, and it was download the zip file. And we're just going to dump this right into the BIOS directory. So I guess if you're setting it up, what I just described, of flashing, booting once, then powering off the Pi, putting it back in, I think you should also include this as part of that. Now we're going to eject, close all this stuff, and we'll go back and power it back up and see what happens. There's obvious reasons why the BIOSes can't be included, but I think this is more than fair. Okay. Let's go back into Nintendo DS. Let's just see. Okay. So, not going to be that easy. And this is where it is not the fault of the developer, but it's also something that we all have to deal with. So it's worth discussing here. So I'm not, throwing shade. It is what it is. So let me move this view over. Mr. Bratbat, your English is perfect. It's so funny. Most of the people I know who just come out and say, hey, my English isn't that great are super easy to communicate with. And one of the reasons is because they know they might make mistakes and they're honest about it. The people who I have the hardest time communicating with are the people that think they speak perfect English. So they come out saying stuff. Like, it's the dumbest example on the planet, but a true example is if you look at something and you go, that's the shit, that means, at least in the 90s in America, it meant that's really cool. But if you look at something and say, that's shit, that you're saying something is crap, it's terrible. And that's a one-word difference with the same inflection in your voice. So it's really easy to get stuff wrong. That's why I'm always patient, but also, drive that point home. All right, so for something like the Nintendo DS, it's telling me to look for Melon DS folder. And there is no NDS BIOS in here. Okay, so I guess the one that we got isn't a full complete one then. Are there any clues as to what to download? I mean, this is confusing. I really hope there's a pack available. So I would have to download Melon DS. Figures. So you know what? Let's just try to go. Oh, yeah. Would help if I could spell. Okay. I was out a couple days ago. That's all. I wish I could say we planned this that way, but it might just be luck. So I'm going to delete all these because this obviously isn't what we need. I'll delete that one too. And once again, I don't mind looking like a fumbling idiot here because unless you knew what to expect, this is what everybody would go through the first time they had to do it. This is why I like doing these streams this way, so I could summarize it in a post So the next person that tries to do this only takes a minute, but yeah, this is cool. In fact, I'm gonna make sure to leave that up so I could link to it. It's actually a pretty fast download for Internet Archive. It's usually much slower than this. Oh, Mr. Bratbat Death, I completely sympathize. I started to learn Mandarin Chinese when I was spending a lot of time out in Taiwan and Shenzhen, but I mean, I could barely say, like, order a beer, go to the, like, ask for a bathroom, like 3-year-old could speak better than me, no doubt. But I don't think I could have. I think if I stayed there, I think if the economy didn't crash and I ended up living out there like I was supposed to, I could have ended up being good enough to get by. But I don't think I could have ever read or wrote or like certainly not write in the Chinese characters. I could do the phonetic of it, but yeah, that would be impossible for me. So, props to anybody that's able to write in multiple languages, let alone speak them. SJF Tech, Bob the friendly bumbling idiot. Yeah, but like the honest idiot, I think is a little better one, because when I know what I'm talking about, I'll tell you, and then I'll tell you why I know what I'm talking about, and then prove to you why I do. And if I don't, then I'll just say I'm an idiot. Okay. But the purpose of this stream is not only just to check this out, it's to get this prepped so everything is exactly the way I want it to be, and everything is working, so that when we do the DAC stream, we're testing DACs. We're not testing RePlayOS and the DACs. And that's something that's definitely important to me that I get right. Okay. Closing that out. Okay, let's try this again.
Here we go.
So to annoyingly repeat myself, I just want to be very clear that I have absolutely nothing negative to say about that whole BIOS thing and about the fact that it's not linked on the website. I understand the reasoning for that, and I don't have any problem whatsoever. I just wanted to make sure I got the info on how to deal with this. How prevalent is Catalan in Spain still? Because the last time I really learned about that, and I had a friend who moved here from Spain in the late 90s, it was really regional. It's like, depending on where you lived, learning Catalan was, no, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, by the way, but where you lived was very dependent on if you should learn that perfectly fluent or not. Default, okay. Screen layout 1. That's right. Okay, how would you change screen layouts though? Am I missing it? Is it right in front of my face? Ah, wow. Well, you know, if it makes you feel any better, we all speak English in the US, but depending on where you go, it's very possible you don't understand a word that's coming out of anybody's mouth if their accent's too thick, even though it's technically English. Hey, morning, Ariel. Let's just resume and see. All right, so that's kind of... Sure. I am on a Pi 5, and I will be on a CRT in the next stream. Maybe at the end of this one, maybe. But I just want to get to know the OS first, and then worry about the analog output. Okay, one button for the layout, huh? All right. Odd that it squishes them like that. I think it could fit more, but whatever. So that is very cool. I'm not gonna sit here and play the whole thing like this because obviously I don't want everybody to turn their necks to the left. So let's see. So it was one button to switch. And yeah, and why can't we access the rest of the screen layouts too with that one button? So let's go back to input. Next screen layout, let's make that, all right. And I keep switching the layout so I can't see the button. That's pretty funny. Alright, let's just resume and keep trying. That was my fault. I hit that button. Alright. Did you see the button? Yeah, that's funny. Because it says layout 1 of 2, it won't let you. That's gonna be a bug. So alright, hold on. Let me leave a note about this. All right. That's a light bug, but let's... Okay. So now... Yeah, you see how quickly that clears out? This is the same thing as before. Everything's the same, it's just inside DS. So, alright, well. I don't know what flipped hybrid is, so let's just try it. Oh, okay. I would think with a widescreen output, though, it would fill the screen like that. So let's just check aspect settings again. Okay. I wonder if this is because you're also able to use this on a CRT. They don't have a 16:9 option, because isn't this where exactly you would want a 16:9 option? Am I missing something here? Oh. Well, that's a help right there. Hybrid ratio. Show opposite screen. Well, I don't know if it supports 2 displays. If it does, that would be amazing. I think that's probably out of the scope for this stream, because this isn't an NDS stream. This is getting to know the settings and how to use this thing. Let's just... Alright, well that's the pixel gap. Let's just fix that back the way it was. Joystick. Video. Alright. Alright, that's a cool option. I don't mind that at all. Okay, that's what we needed. I like this. That's neat for a game like this one. That's very cool. Okay. So it took a minute to learn this one and how to get everything set up properly, but I like this. This is really neat. I'm going to switch cores and just keep testing. What's up, Dell? How you doing? Just rebooting. CoderKind, I have one sitting here, but my next live stream is going to be about DACs, and I will show RePlayOS. I just wanted to learn this one first, just to see. So let's go Neo Geo Pocket. Alright, let's check some settings here. Integer vertical, alright. Yeah, oop, sorry. Yeah, that's going to look terrible on stream. It's going to have nothing to do with anything else here. So they seem to have stayed on, even though I disabled them, though, huh? Interesting. All right, let's just unless we're talking about CRT mask emulation, I never use scanlines anymore unless it's the you're talking about like 480p on a PC CRT monitor. There we go. So, does anybody remember the aspect ratio of the Neo Geo Pocket Color? Oh, maybe you gotta restart for that setting on this core. No? Sorta. Alright. Well, there's no shimmering in my eyes, I think. Well, maybe a little. I don't know. But I like it. That's, Alright, let's try some other weirdness. Mr. Bratbetdeath said, wants to know if anybody knows anything about the status of the Mariant project and the Minerva project for preserving Mariant. I'll be honest, I'm not remembering what that is. It might be one of those things where once I see it pop up, I'll go, oh yeah, that's right. But I'm sorry, I totally forgot. It's a 2019 aspect ratio? Huh. Alright, let's do Dreamcast. Okay, so that was the correct aspect ratio with square pixels, because 152 high times 7 is 1064, which is why it almost filled the 1080p high screen perfectly. Interesting. So 160 by 7 is 1120, so yeah, alright. So that was right. Thank you. Oh, there's some screen tearing there, huh? I wonder what mode this is in. Let's check some settings here. And I'm not able... Oh, there's the menu. Integer... Cable type VGA, that's very important. Let's just do that just to see. Let's do one of these at a time to see. But this is pretty cool. Upscaling. Alright. Do we still have that same kind of tearing? Yeah. Alright. No. Is there a setting here anybody thinks I'm missing? Hey, what's up, Lou? The button mapping, it totally depends on core. For FB Alpha or FB Neo or whatever it was fine. Not the best, it's not Mister, but it's definitely fine. But for MAME, it was pretty bad. And there's still some bugs on other cores, but you know, I'm saying that as like from like a bug tester point of view, not from a talking crap point of view. I know you know that, Lou. I'm just making that clear to everybody else. Let's just hit reset, see if maybe it just took a minute for the settings to, or maybe I have to reboot to have the settings persist. Oh no, RSN, this is a game that I've been using it for testing for years. Great idea though, but no, this is, I chose this one on purpose. Yeah, it's all glitchy. Let's do a different game though, just in case. Game list. Oh, thanks, Mumbler. The game man wants to know, CRT filters, are they recommended or not? That's personal preference. For me, when I'm playing 240p stuff on a 480p VGA CRT monitor, yes, I definitely do. I have them at 100% or near 100%, and it looks perfect. It looks like a PVM. But when it comes to on a flat panel, unless it's true CRT mask emulation, I just don't really like the look anymore. I never really liked the look, to be honest with you. But that's preference. It's not... You could tell me that you think that's dumb and you love the look, and you're right. Oop. Am I hitting the wrong button? I am hitting the wrong button.
Race start.
Love those load times, huh?
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. 3, 2, 1, go!
Alright, the controls are weird. When I hit right and left, it's not giving me an analog control option. And the screen tearing isn't as bad in this one. So yeah, Dreamcast is going to be a little bit weird. You probably want to use that with an analog controller. Let's see what else we got. And if there's anything specifically anybody wants me to test in this one, we're an hour and 20 in, so I think I'm definitely gonna save the analog stuff for next time. Or maybe we just show a very quick test of that, but we'll see. Let's go with the CDI, because why not? So it's at 50 frames per second, so it's probably in PAL 50 mode. And it's not really doing anything, but I can't confirm that the issue isn't this game. So I'm just going to pretend I didn't do that, because I have no idea if the problem is the ROM or if it's the core or whatever. You know, I had an idea. Let's see if there's one more core we want to look at. And then I have an idea of how we could check out the video output in this stream without delaying the stream or being a pain or anything like that. I just want to double check. Was there anything else? 3DO probably would have been a good one to test if I'd remembered to put a ROM on there. Oh, yeah. What about extras? Hold on. Oh, Alpha Player. So for Alpha Player, am I supposed to have... does anybody remember how the Alpha Player works? All right, so look, I am going to grab a couple of ways to try to check out the analog video in this. I'm also going to use the bathroom real quick, so I'll be taking my headset off. Y'all didn't catch me this time. And if anybody knows how to do the Alpha Player, which I think is the video player, let me know. Do I need to just put something on the micro SD? Because now would be the time to try that as well. So I'll be back in a minute. All right, I'm back and I have everything run through the RetroTink 4K now, so we could check out the analog side as well. I'm going to switch the Tink over to 1080p just because that's what the stream is. Wow, my dumbass just looked at the screen and said, why is it blurry all of a sudden? It's because I had my glasses off. Wow, I'm getting old. Okay. Let me just look up the RePlayOS's alpha player. Alpha player. There's a multimedia core for the RePlayOS. I'll drop this in the chat so you all could read it as well. Doesn't say where you're supposed to play it or where you're supposed to put it. So let's take a look at the micro SD and see what we could do from there. I'll switch over to the other view, of course. All right. So the boot is just the file system with the actual stuff on it. That's all fine. So let's try the replay one. Is there? Oh, ha! Yeah, I'm a moron. It's right there. All right. Let's. Sorry, that hard drive's booting up here. Let's do. Let's do one that I know is 24p, just to see what it says. It says 4 minutes to copy this. I think that's a worthy wait just to see what a Blu-ray file could do in here. And then, so basically, when this is done copying, I'm going to just first try that out just to see what happens. But then I'm also going to switch over to using different digital to analog converters. And I think that's going to be the win, because we're going to keep it focused on RePlayOS. And then the next time I do the follow-up stream, which should be within a week, we focus on the DAC and use RePlayOS as one of the tools that we use to prove it out. So while technically we're trying a couple of different DACs in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, it's still a RePlayOS focused stream. And when we come back up too, I'll also see if we could set it to DAC CRT mode directly into the Tink for that exact same reason, just like you'd want to use Mr. in direct video mode. Sorry for the boring wait, but this right here is why I started the stream technically last night when I pre-configured the micro SD, because I didn't want this to be a 4-hour stream with 2.5 hours of it just staring at a progress bar. Yeah, at the moment, the PS1 snack module in the Superstation 1 is only compatible with the PlayStation Core, which is fine, especially for a launch product like this, and especially because all of the features of the PlayStation 1 snack adapter is really the most advanced, whereas the other cores, for basic consoles, I know there's the what was it, 30 MT32 Pi. Yeah, I don't know why I just forgot that. But as for basic consoles, yeah, the PlayStation is the most complicated one, so I understand why that choice was made. But I would love to see, after the dock is released, different dock adapters. Because what if you don't need the optical drive? What if you just want a controller adapter to sit underneath, or an MT32 Pi or whatever else? So yeah, that'll be interesting. All right, 1 minute left. Hey, Amiga Vision's here. Definitely support their amazing work. But Amiga Vision said RePlayOS is great. We use it as the base for Amiga Vision on the Pi. Low latency, no RetroArch. Yeah, love it. Yay for super slow micro SDs. Still probably would have been faster than me fumbling around trying to get a USB stick, switching it over on the OS. So whatever. All right, we're done. Eject. Switching you back over. Plugging in. Amiga Vision, have you considered working on anything for like the X68K? Because that's a confusing one, and that would be a pretty cool way to access some of those games without having to program the PC. And maybe you already did and I'm forgetting. I apologize. Mr. Brat Death, yeah, there's always some kind of drama with Taki. I guess the the explanation was reasonable but still annoying, and that the one color was made first. So if you ordered a certain color, you're getting it before people who ordered sooner with a different color. Which I get it. I understand how contract manufacturing works, and I understand how things get thrown into the mix that you have no control over. But I also understand what it's like placing an order first day, and the people who bought it 2 months later are getting it before you. So I see both sides. All right, so let's go into Alpha Player, Turtles. I mean, that was quick and awesome. Go back into this. All right, I'm going to pause, because if I don't, I'm probably going to get a copyright strike here. So let's go into the settings. So this is neat. I wonder, can this be set to... And by the way, what I'm about to look for is ridiculous. I am absolutely not saying the dev needs to add this. I'm just curious, so give me a second. BM, I'm using a Tink as a pass-through because I'm about to switch to analog. And that's going to be the easiest way to show this here. Okay. Supports 48 to 75. So let's see what happens. Show video info. Why not? was.
Need a little help?
Nope. I need a lot of help.
Come on, menu. There we go. All right, so look, I didn't expect that at all, and nor do I think the devs should waste their time on that. I was just really curious if, since VR was enabled, it could do something like 24 to 72 automatically. But that, you know, that's not something anybody should have to deal with. That's just my own, let me be silly. All right, so I'm going to power this off and switch it into a DAC and kind of go from there. And in fact, that's... Actually, if I remember correctly, we were supposed to have made this change before, but that's why running it through a Tink is a good thing, because that way we could kind of check and see what would happen. But since it's in a Tink, it's completely safe. Amiga Vision, that's what we're going to be testing after this. This is just a general DAC, digital to analog converter. Oh, you know, it would help if I switched it over to the correct input of the Tink, wouldn't it? Okay, so we plugged in a DAC. Let's see what we got. And let's see what the Tink is saying, too. The Tink is showing 1440 by 240, so it automatically detected that there was a digital to analog converter plugged into the port, and that's probably going to be DAC specific, but that's cool. That's real cool. TV 15 kilohertz. All right, that's cool. Very cool. An RGB color range for cheap DACs that might be limited range. And if you have a good DAC but you get weird color issues, just manually come in and switch it. Very cool. CRT LCD auto. Oh, there was a 4K mode. We just didn't check. Yeah, we'll go back to that at the end, I guess. Love it. All right, absolutely love it. So let's just... actually, let me remove these. How did I remove them? Select? Yeah. Let me go back into FB Neo. Did we add that as favorite added? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, BM. Does it remember the position you left the video and start there from next time? I didn't. I should check that. Thank you, Mr. Brat Death. It's cool for you to hang out. All right, so here's something we got to keep in mind. We're setting this through a Tink, not a CRT. So the weirdness that you see here might not at all be a problem. Yeah, see? Yeah, that weirdness was simply because we're going through a digital scaler and we have an analog output signal. So you can't hold that against anything. It's not the Tink's problem, and it's not the RePlayOS's problem. All right, so that just worked, and this is a basic DAC that it's a very good quality one, but it's like an $8 one that outputs RGB HV. So I'm going to be grabbing the HD15 to SCART and seeing if it works in SCART mode, and I won't need a reboot for that. Now on the Tink, this should work perfectly in sync combiner mode with no issues whatsoever. And once again, I want to keep this stream to RePlayOS, and the next time I do it, I'm going to show it on CRTs and weird compatibility issues and all that other stuff. Also works perfect with a sync combiner. Great. Let me replay options, reboot. Let me reboot and change a couple of things on here. Have I been using a reflex Prism DAC in my setup? I have one right here, and I haven't even opened it yet. Same with the RGB Pi. So we could probably test those real quick now. But once again, I'm keeping this in the context of the RePlayOS stream. And there is actually something I wanted to show you about this. And then next time, I'll focus on the DACs. I'm opening up my Prism for the first time here. Oh, this thing's small in a good way. Smaller the better for stuff like this. Alright, I got that open, I got that open. So let me show you a feature that is should be RGB Pi 2 specific, but something I definitely want to show here anyway because it's also specific to RePlayOS. So do you see how CRT sync mode, that you can't really change that with this one because this is a generic DAC that we see here. So what this is doing is at the moment, I think it's just outputting RGB HV. And in fact, we could double check that here and see if RGBS, wait, no, let me set it back over because I had it through the SCART adapter just to make sure there was no weird issues there. So let's go, so RGB HV. And it's not syncing with RGBS here. So it can't take, and by the way, this isn't a bad thing, but it can't take a standard HDMI to VGA converter and output RGBS on it like Mr. can. That's kind of a complicated thing anyway, so I get it. At least I think it can't. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is power off. Well, let me grab the RGB Pi. This sucker is small too. And grab a... Oh, that's right. It uses a different style HDMI cable. I got to go get a completely different one of those. All right. Well, sorry. Y'all are stuck for a minute while I figure out where the heck I put that. Or maybe I have an adapter here. It'll take me a second, but I'll find something. Anybody who's seen the live streams where I have the camera out showing the boxes of stuff I'm digging through? I got so many different places with so many different adapters. Alright, well, it's not in this one. Let me... This is definitely a feature I need to show because it's an important one. Nope. Wrong HDMI. There. Oh, I think I got it. All right. I got the RGB Pi connected. And I'm going to power cycle to make sure it detects it, or try to detect it on boot. I'm going to switch over to the SCART input now. Okay. So with the RGB Pi, you could actually select which C-Sync mode it is. And that's what I want to get into in the next stream, because in the next stream, I'm going to show the different DACs, and I want to show compatibility with my XM29, which is such a finicky beast that doesn't like anything. Try it through the G-SCART that's in there. This is the stuff that I really want to dig into in the next stream. But I wanted to highlight this here to show you that this is specifically a RePlayOS feature that, combined with the RGB Pi, gets you these options of selecting which of the C-Sync modes that you're looking for. And that could be a huge help for compatibility. We can turn this off now. All right, I like it. Oh yeah, Amiga Vision. I wasn't. My camera isn't set up at all, so I just figured I would walk you through it, because in the next stream I'm going to detail everything that I was just talking about. Show you the pictures of it. Show you how it looks. I'll do the Reflex Prism next just to show it working, but I cannot imagine a scenario that it wouldn't work. So, but I'll just plug it in now just for a RePlayOS focused test on this. Actually, I have an even better idea. Y'all are gonna have to give me a moment here. I hope this is worth it. I guess now I'm crossing into, is this something more for the next stream? But you know what? We'll find out together. Amiga Vision, did you reply about X68Ki? I'm really sorry if you did and I missed it. I was just kind of curious if that was something that was on your radar at all, or if somebody else is working on it, because it's just such a fickle thing to get working if you don't know anything about the original. All right, I'm going to switch this over and reboot as well. HDMI input. All right, we're going to power the sucker up. I think I messed this up. What a shock. All right, hold on a moment. You have the Neon X68K project? Let me look that up real quick. Wow, you already do have it. You know what's funny is I searched for this the other day and I couldn't find anything on this. So maybe I was searching for the wrong thing. But that was yeah, wow. Okay, that's embarrassing. I'm gonna put that torrent down for later and try it on my Mister, because I was trying to test 24 kilohertz out of Mister into a into the GBS control, and I couldn't figure out how to do that. So, and I also have heard that 24 kilohertz out of the Mister core isn't consistent. Does anybody know if that's true? I know it's wildly off topic, but what was I just grabbing as well? All right, so this is the Reflex Prism working, which isn't the slightest bit surprising. I mean that as a compliment, not an insult. Just because this is basic stuff, and I was pretty confident it was going to work. I haven't done a deep dive on this yet, but one other quick thing I want to test real quick. And we'll do 4K output testing and then reset it back to the way it was and then call it. Okay, this is S-video output from the Reflex Prism. Also working simultaneously to the VGA output, so it looks like it's properly buffered for both to be safely working at the same time. I obviously would want to verify that in a scope, but that's one of the very few things you could eyeball. If you have two things plugged in at the same time and you unplug one and it gets brighter, or vice versa, you plug in the second and it gets darker, that's not properly terminated, and that did not happen with this, which is a good thing. Yeah, my apologies, Amiga Vision. I didn't realize you already had that. I might have even covered it and just forgot. So, okay. So this all works very cool with the DACs. I don't think. Let's just see. So that's only available for the RGB Pi. So once again, that's not going to work with other DACs, but that's totally fine in my opinion. So let's just plug this sucker back in directly to... Actually, I want to see what happens now. Will it retain plugged directly in or not? Huh. What's it showing? All right, interesting. When I unplugged it from the DAC and plugged it into the capture card directly, it automatically switched over to 1080p without requiring a reboot, which is pretty cool. I didn't think that was possible with setups like this. So yet another shout out to the developer for figuring out little stuff like that to make the experience better overall. But let's just change the video mode now to require system reboot there, no problem. All right, let's see how it does in 4K. This stream is obviously still going to be 1080p. I can't change that, but and we'll finish it up after this. But I think this worked out exactly as I hoped. We get an idea of the OS, but we also know what to expect when we go into the DAC testing next week. So we'll be able to do a thorough DAC test and see how it works from compatibility and functionality points of view. Let me just put this stuff back so I don't forget, which is very possible. Covered by a Lou post last year. Wow, what an idiot. Sorry, guys. All right, so I'm looking at my... Well, I could show this. So if you see here in the capture card, it says input source 3840 by 2160. So this is definitely outputting 4K. I think I would like to... actually... I think I'd, what am I doing? Wrong button. Sorry. Let me put the frame counter back on just to see if it drops in 4K. And let's go back into Mortal Kombat just for the heck of it.
Scorpion.
Wait, is this the... This is the MAME version. Right? No. Request. I must not have saved it. And yes, I am hearing the slowdown, but the menu's up, so whatever. I'm not worried about that. Alright, that's already correct. East. I must not have saved this. 2.
Scorpion. Fight.
Or maybe it did save and I just messed up the button mapping. I don't know. But this still seems pretty good for a 4K output here, right? 60 frames per second.
Scorpion wins.
Oh yeah, I can. That's a good point. I can enable that.
Sub-Zero wins.
Let me set this back.
Sub-Zero wins. Scorpion. Fight. Excellent. Scorpion.
Looks pretty darn good in 4K to me, huh?
Fight.
Yeah, this is FB Neo. The MAME version of this did play it in the correct frames per second. However, I couldn't get button mapping to work reliably at all with that one.
Scorpion wins. Fatality.
Alright. We'll do one final reboot, check any other settings, and then I think that's it. And I think we could call this stream. I love it. I think it's awesome. I just hope that some more time is spent on button mapping stuff. Because while it's the most boring thing in the world to go over on a live stream, you all saw how long it took me to try to figure out how to just play Mortal Kombat and move where the shifter was on Outrun. So I hope that that's the next focus, but overall, I think it's awesome. We'll just do auto, and let me actually... So it still says 4K. I have it set to auto. Let me just reboot it one more time and see if it goes back to 4K or if it goes back to 1080p. And any other questions, let me know now. And if not, I'll call the stream and we'll follow up next week with the DAC stream. So it rebooted in 1080p, which is fine, by the way. Just wanted to make that clear. All right, this is awesome. I like it. I don't have any complaints at all. I don't have any complaints. I do think the button mapping, it would be great if that was a priority. But this is cool. I'm liking this a lot. This was as plug and play as something like this could get. And overall, I'm happy with it. I'll send some questions to the developer, But overall, it's just very cool. So expect a quick summary post of a 2-hour live stream that's basically going to be a paragraph saying it's cool. RTA has been quick to respond to me on DMs, so I'm not worried about any of this stuff. And once again, if his response is, hey, this stuff is hard, take a hike. Fine. That's fine too. No hard feelings. But it's my job to provide feedback, so that's what I'm definitely going to be doing as much as I can, within reason. This is cool though. I'm happy. Actually, let me see. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, thank you all very much for joining the stream. I do really appreciate it, and all this stuff is so much more fun to do with you all hanging out with me. I much prefer it over just doing this stuff by myself. And you're all very helpful too when I make stupid mistakes and you point out where I could be fixing them, and it's genuinely helpful, and I appreciate it. So I'm gonna putting all this stuff away for now, but I'll follow up next week with the DAC stream and go from there.